Hi everyone, this is Nicole and Jenna with How the Heck, and today we have a third babe on, Jimmy, who is going to join us for this extra special How the Heck. Jimmy, tell us a little about yourself.
Hi everyone. So I'm the Boston babe, and I am an acupuncturist here, actually about maybe 15-20 miles south of Boston. And I run two clinics. We're like integrative clinic where we have 5 massage therapists. We have craniosacral therapy, and then myself and 2 other clinicians.
Oh my gosh, you even said Boston the way that I imagine people in Boston say Boston.
Yeah, I park my car.
Jimmy, tell us what the name of your clinic.
So it's called New England Wellness Solutions, and we have one office that's inside the Weymouth Club, which is a really high-end club. They have like 16 tennis courts and a couple of Olympic-sized pools. So we get to have a lot of fun there. And then I have a standalone clinic in a neighboring town.
Awesome. So I imagine you like work on a lot of like sports medicine things.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, we'll get into that in just a little bit.
Okay. Awesome.
So Jimmy is going to be perfect for telling us about what we're talking today about, which is how the heck to find an acupuncturist. A lot of people are like interested in acupuncture. They've heard about it. They think it's kind of weird. They're a little intrigued. Maybe their friend or relative has done it, but they really don't know where to start. One of the best ways is asking your social network, obviously, because referrals are amazing. But there's a little bit more to it than that, because acupuncture is such a powerful medicine, and it's really, really meant to be customized for the client experience. So together, all 3 of us babes are going to try to help you figure out how the heck to find an acupuncturist. So I think I'm supposed to get us started with some like the logistical things. Is that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Before you do that, I really love this topic because I think what happens is a lot of patients could go wrong, and we don't want them to go wrong. So this is a quick synopsis to make sure that when they are choosing the acupuncturist, there's a guideline that they can follow so that they're going to find someone that's a good fit for them. So
and
all
also,
yours.
like everyone is different. So what works for your mom or your best friend might not work for you.
Exactly. Fair point.
Yeah, and I a lot of times will hear like, oh, I tried it once and it wasn't for me, and then I'll ask more like, tell me about your experience. And it sounds like they were just with a trash person. And I'm like, oh man, like, oh, let's rebrand it. Like, let's try again, you know. And in the same way, like, we've all had Western medicine doctors that were like, ooh, that was not a great experience, you know, but we're not never gonna go again. So anyway, hopefully this is gonna help everyone at home get a little bit of a framework, and we're gonna put in the comment section or somewhere, Nicole's the genius around this stuff, a link of like questions that you can like bring with you when you're asking or when you're calling or when you're looking at a website, so you kind of understand a little bit better about the format for going through how to find an acupuncturist. So the first like really low-hanging fruit of what to do next is you're going to find out who is in your geographical area, because we all know it's kind of a pain to drive. Maybe you're taking the bus, maybe you are taking a lift or the train, whatever, but you want to make sure that that acupuncturist office is easy to find, or they may offer mobile services. So if you threw out your back, you might want them to come to you. So you might want to know if that's something that they offer as well. Usually that's a quick Google search and it'll show you who's in your area. And then within that, the next phase is normally, can I afford them? So how much does this cost? Different acupuncturists have different pricing. Some take insurance. They may or may not take yours. So all of this is worth looking into. There's the fee for service, which is just you pay for each appointment. Sometimes you can get a super bill and bill yourself. There's lots of options within this, but you want to make sure that you're not engaging in this financial toxicity that can occur sometimes in medicine. So can you afford them? Do they take insurance? Do they take your HSA plan perhaps? There's many things you can do there. And then the next phase, Jimmy's going to talk about, which is, can you really get a hold of them first so you can get to know them a little bit better before you actually book an appointment?
Can I add one more thing about insurance? Just because I work with insurance billing all the time, one more thing I would add, if you are using insurance, just make sure that you call your actual insurance plan to make sure that they cover acupuncture, because a lot of plans don't right now, sadly. So a practitioner might accept United Healthcare, for example, but your specific United Healthcare plan might not cover acupuncture. So it's a lot better if you know that going in, like, oh, I'm going to owe them $120 versus like showing up and thinking you're going to owe a copay and then owing like $80 more than that.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is FSA accounts too. Some flex spending accounts you can use for your medical care. And I think that's a great option for us, a lot of our patients. So the first thing I want to share is when you're looking to try an acupuncturist, there's an option to consult with that particular acupuncturist and to see if he or she is the right fit for you. So I would recommend picking 3 acupuncturists that you know that's geographically convenient or within driving distance. Pricing is good. You've checked that kind of mark off, and now you really want to get to know the person and see if they're a good fit from the standpoint of walking into the space, feeling comfortable, because you're going to be sharing a lot of your health history. And so the comfort side of care is going to be really, really important. And, why not sit down with somebody to figure that out? And so I would recommend seeing 3 different acupuncturists, do your consults, and really getting to know the person and see if you are willing to move forward with the care plan.
Such a good point. And a lot of places do these for free. They'll do like free 15-minute or a half-hour consultations, either over the phone or in person. So don't be scared off and thinking that you'll have to pay something up front. A lot of people will just like therapists do, get to know you over the phone before you decide you're both a good fit for each other.
And there's also always Google reviews or Yelp, which I do have a little bit of a beef with because they keep hiding my 5-star reviews. But I've worked it around and I screenshot it and I upload it to the photos because I'm like, you can't keep me down. But reading reviews can also be really helpful just as a starting, maybe to choose the 3 that you're going to book the consults with. That can be a helpful starting point.
Perfect. And the next thing I have on my list seems like a really basic, again, low hanging fruit, but like do your research and make sure that they're an acupuncturist. A lot of people advertise that they do acupuncture, and there are a lot of really great practitioners who offer dry needling, like physical therapists are able to do dry needling, as well as Western medical doctors. But if you're looking for acupuncture itself, just make sure that they are either licensed with the NCCAOM, which is the really long accreditation board that we have that's national. And each state usually has their own medical board licensing process as well. So like, for example, Jenna and I are in Texas. So you would go to Texas Medical Board, TMB, and look up our names and make sure that we are actually acupuncturists. And I mean, dry needling, a lot of patients come in with questions. Jimmy, I know that you have a lot of people who come in asking if you do dry needling. And could you expand a little more on that?
Yeah, for sure. So, when someone asks me, do I do dry needling? I would say yes, but just keep in mind that it's one color in the rainbow and acupuncture is the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And so, I think that the interesting thing to look at is the amount of education that we get from acupuncture school versus some of the weekend warrior classes. So if we were to just look at, because I think as a consumer, you want to be informed in terms of, before getting treatments. So you can, as a physical therapist, chiropractor, you can go for a 24-hour course and practice dry needling. As an MD, I think it's a 300-hour course to practice acupuncture. And then for a diplomat of Oriental medicine or acupuncture, it's between 2,700 hours and 3,700 hours of training. So that, just as a benchmark, so you can kind of use it as a comparison as you're looking for your go-to provider.
Awesome. Thank you. That actually leads me perfectly into my next point. So thank you. Another thing I want to bring up is just if you're looking for someone who does practice herbs and uses herbs in their practice, the first thing to do is just ask if they do. But also, you want to make sure that they are a diplomat of Oriental medicine with the NCCAOM, just because diplomats of acupuncture just have the requirements of studying the acupuncture part of coursework. They might have taken some extra credits or like continuing education in herbs, but they're not certified nationally to practice with herbs. Each state has their own requirements, but I prefer to go, if I'm looking for an herbalist, I prefer to go to someone personally that has a diplomat of Oriental medicine.
There's also, and I can't remember, jump in if someone else wanted to talk about this, but there's also acupuncturists who are like get really interested in certain medicine. So for example, or like specialties kind of. So it's really fair game to ask, do you have any specialties or do you have any other certifications? So like I'm super into functional medicine. I plan to get that degree, pretty soon. I know Nicole's, you're considering that as well. There's certain acupuncturists that have nutrition certifications added on because they're just a bit more passionate about that. So it's helpful to understand a little bit about what is your acupuncturist passionate about, because they're probably going to be looking at you through the lens of that passion. So if they're really interested in supplements, you're probably going to be going home with some recommendations for supplements. If they're really into herbs, it's kind of like we have found what works for us in our flow of practice. And so you want to make sure that that's going to work for you. And if you're also into that, even better, because then we'll be synced up in terms of the care path.
Yeah. And I would say, like, even in terms of specialty, if that is their specialty and they see like hundreds of patients with infertility, for example, they're probably going to have a lot more research done on the case of infertility, just because there's so many different things that acupuncture can work for. But they probably really honed in their research on certain topics. And Jimmy, I know you might have had some extra things to say about specialties as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, so I specialize in orthopedics. We have an office inside a club. So most of the folks who are coming in are very athletic. And so the orthopedics seems to work out pretty well. I grew up practicing martial arts for 15 years. So really just into the mechanics and the movement medicine and kinesiology. And so that's my passion. I talk it, I live it. I'm up to date with all the research. I do my classes with surgeons, so I know what they're up to and what the best practices are, what the latest and greatest procedures are. And so you can get that with things like fertility or GI health or oncology. And so when you're looking for a practitioner, see if they have, a vast experience in that particular subset. And I think ultimately you'll get better results. And I think that's when it comes down to is outcomes. And if we focus on, the way I look at it as a practitioner is because I focus on orthopedics, I've tried everything that didn't work. So what's left are the things that are most effective.
That's so smart. And Jimmy, I just want to say that every time that you say that you have a clinic inside a club, I'm just like thinking like techno music, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
For sure. And it's not at all. It actually, if as you're walking in, you might hear, depending on what class is going on, man, those Zumba classes, woo, you walk in, your heart's pumping, and then you walk into the clinic and you get a nice treatment and you walk out like a totally different person. It's great.
That's awesome. Next thing, I guess, like, Jimmy, that kind of brings you into your next point of like, do your research. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, so, I think Jenna touched upon that as well. It's very important, instead of hoping for the right practitioner for you, the right acupuncture therapist for you, the right clinician for you, do your homework. There's so much available out there in terms of Google and Yelp and other doctor rating systems online. So do your research. The only thing that I would say is, you want to do some research on the practitioner's website, because typically you'll get on like video testimonials specific to your condition or written testimonials specific to your condition. And it helps you, kind of figure out what should I expect from the treatment plan or acupuncture in general. And then you also want to go back to like reviews that they have on Yelp and on Google, and you'll get a better sense of what to expect. I would say that every now and then you might get a negative review, but I don't let that dictate your experience, because everybody has a very individualized experience. For example, maybe that negative review was because it was too far of a drive. But if you had already done the checklist of geography and prices, or they were unhappy about the fee schedule, if you've done your homework, then you're more likely to find the right practitioner and the right environment for you.
I mean,
and I think
sorry, Jenna.
Oh no,
Go ahead.
Go.
We're both too nice. Okay, I'll go.
This is why you need a third babe.
Okay, Jimmy, moderate us.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Nicole.
With reviews, even if I'm looking at reviews for restaurants or something like that, like they'll usually have, like, for example, like if there's a couple bad reviews, I'll usually just look at those bad reviews and be like, was this person leaving a review having a bad day? Or like, was like, what happened? Or how did the business respond to this review? Were they really concerned that this person had a bad experience and wanted to fix that? So again, don't let a couple bad reviews scare you off. If the majority are positive reviews, then I would probably just go with that.
And this is where the in-person consult can really help solidify the full picture. Yeah. So, I would do the research and do the in-person consult, and you really get maybe you're about 85 to 90% there, whether or not this is the right practitioner.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we wanted to touch on is that one acupuncturist is not another. So it's kind of like you're comparing, acupuncture may be a bowl of fruit, but within that you have apples and pears and mangoes and whatever, cherries. I don't know, I'm running out of fruit, but you get the point. So you want to make sure that are you looking at an acupuncturist that's like very integrated with Western medicine? They maybe work in an integrated clinic and they have 4 rooms and they're kind of bouncing back and forth, and they're not going to be using maybe moxa or something because of smoke, and or do you want something that's more like one practitioner solo? There's one room, they're with you the whole hour. Maybe you don't want to be left alone. Some acupuncturists might have really, really comprehensive treatment plans, like you need to be coming in twice a week for the next 8 weeks. Others might be more free flow style. So if you've been to acupuncture before, you might have a whole world of expectation around what it's like. Like you have the file in your brain for acupuncture looks the way you experienced it, or maybe how your friend told you it was, or you saw on TV or something. And in reality, then when you walk into the office, you might not even realize you're running with all these assumptions of how it should go or should have gone. And you might be pleasantly surprised, or you might be like, this is not at all what I expected. And one of it's somewhere in we had kind of gone through the key points we thought for finding an acupuncturist. Otherwise, we would just end up rambling all day long because we're all 3 really passionate about this. So I don't remember exactly where, but I'm just going to bring it up now. We were talking about the degree of woo-woo, because acupuncture, and that's not the technical term, but it works because each acupuncturist has their own reason for coming into the medicine, has their own universe within them, which sounds woo-woo just saying that. But anyway, you're going to have some acupuncturists that are going to have on white coats, and it's going to be very clean, kind of sterile looking environments. And they're going to have other acupuncturists where they're practicing out of their home and they have a, chakra mural on the wall, and they're talking to you about crystals and really heavy on the energy component. Maybe they are certified in Reiki, and it depends on where you're comfortable at along that spectrum. So do you want someone that has incense and music and, is talking about vibrational sound healing? Or do you want someone that's really like, this is a Western medicine terms, we're not talking chi here. And the reality is acupuncture from China, the basis is very much rooted in spirituality and emotion. And there's talk of different spirits associated with different like organ systems and meridian. And in the Western world, we're a little bit less comfortable with that. So we've sanitized it to varying degrees to make it more accessible, to make it more like parallel with Western medicine. And there's differing views on whether or not that's right or wrong within the acupuncturist field. Some feel like, forget it, we're not trying to beg to be part of this other system, we're keeping our true nature. And others feel like, no, come on, let's like evolve with the times. And anyway, you want to find a practitioner that vibes with you on that woo-woo scale so that you feel comfortable in their care.
Yeah, and I love that you're not using woo-woo as like a pejorative term. Like, no. You might want that like energy, like energy worker. But if you're looking for like a very clinical space, then yes, the in-person consult would be a really important thing to do.
Yeah, like I can rock out with some woo-woo, or I can get super left brain on someone and, you know, use all the biomedical terminology that I've crammed, you know, in my brain. So yeah, it's up to the client what they like the most.
Yep, perfect. I think one of the last things that I have is just talking about, is your clinician a good listener? Just because so much of Chinese medicine has to do with really small, minute symptoms, and maybe just even like observation. Yeah, observing your patient and seeing how they act, seeing what concerns they're bringing up. If I ever walk into even a Western practitioner's office, and they are trying to like strong arm me into a treatment plan or saying that like my concerns aren't valid, then that I know is not for me. I want someone who will listen to my concerns. I feel comfortable bringing up like maybe something emotional that's going on in my life, stressors. That's a really important thing for me. And I think it's a very important thing in Chinese medicine, especially.
And also, like, what a lot of people may not know who are new to acupuncture is acupuncturists ask some wild questions. Like, we're trying to look at your tongue. We're asking you about your poop and your period blood, maybe your semen, like what's your saliva like. We're in your business in a way that you might expect, like, you know, your urologist to ask you some of the questions we're asking, or your gynecologist, but we're in it. And so if you're not comfortable sharing some of that, you know, you need someone that makes you feel like, okay, I can bring up the fact that it hurts when I have sex, or I can bring up the fact that I cry sometimes and I'm not sure why, or, you know, like it's a really important that you feel like the space has been created where you can be like, you came in for back pain and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I never even thought about the fact that I can feel my heartbeat and that is palpitations and I might want to think about that. You know, and the conversations bring out so much, you know, so many times we all have this, a patient gets on the table and they're like, oh yeah, and this other thing happened, and you're like, whoa, that's like a very important diagnostic information. But if you hadn't developed rapport of kind of chatting through it, they may never have thought to even bring that up.
So true. Jenna, wait, you're our Tweena queen. Talk to us about Tweena and
Tweena, baby, bring it on.
Trying to do a crown here. Guys, I mean, Nicole knows enough, and Jimmy may know enough because we get to do these doctoral classes together, but I'm obsessed with body work and Tweena. I got this early certification to be able to do cupping and Tweena stuff, and I love it. I love it. And different acupuncturists have different desires for that work. And part of it is, realistically, when you're doing Tweena, which is Asian body work for the people that don't know, it's Tuina. And it's like, you cannot see multiple patients and have your hands on all of them, whereas you can have needles in and then give them some space with the needles in the room when you can go to the next patient. And I'll end up doing that. I mean, I see multiple patients at the same time, but the hands-on stuff is huge for me. And so if you want that work, if you like cupping and you want hands-on body and you want, you know, there's so many other modalities that acupuncturists can use. There's moxibustion and e-stim, and I can go on and on and on. And if you have that in your mind, that that's something you want in your appointments, then you need to make sure your acupuncturist actually offers that. Because even though we're all trained in it, I know acupuncturists that are like, not for me. I like the needles. That's my thing. And that's totally valid. But if it's not what you're looking for, you're going to be potentially disappointed or frustrated.
And tell me about which certification you have for Tweena. What it's called, so people can look it up.
It's AOBTA. They have like 10 billion super long acronyms, and you end up being a certified practitioner. You can either do it in Tweena or medical Qigong. Those are the two. And it's a certification that I believe is nationwide, even though each state, like I couldn't go to another state and practice even under that certification in the same way we can't with acupuncture because of licensure stuff and, you know, whatever. But it's, I'm totally blanking on the name. It's like American Oriental Body Work Therapy Association. Don't quote me on it. Comment below with questions on like what the actual what it stands for
you.
But if you want someone who's trained in that, even if everyone receives a basic training, if they don't have those letters advertised somewhere, then they may not be fully certified in it. Which doesn't mean they're not good at it. It's just more of a gamble on if they are or not.
Good point.
I think the other thing too, I just want to mention quickly that a lot of folks think that acupuncture is just sticking needles in people, but it's actually a very complex system of medicine that includes Graston technique or gua sha, cupping therapy, some tuina, if depending on who's doing what and what you're passionate about. So there's a lot more complexities and a lot more I would say tools that you can use depending on whatever ails you. So like what Jenna Nicole said earlier, that the practitioner has many abilities to customize to your particular chief complaint.
Beautiful. Well, friends, I think that kind of like ties up all of the important points that we had planned for today. Hopefully the viewers at home, hopefully you feel like you have a game plan for if you're looking for an acupuncturist. Like Jenna said, we'll make a little checklist for you and put the link in our little YouTube comments. But thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, like Jenna said, comment below. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with some accurate info.
Or if you have any feedback that was successful in your process finding an acupuncturist, please share that below, because we may have missed something. I mean, we all think we're great acupuncturists. So if you live in Austin or the Boston area, like, you got it covered, you already found them, we're right here. But if if you live somewhere else and you found someone great, like, feel free to share their info, how you found them, what your process was. Did you just stumble upon them? Because fundamentally what we know from the research is that a lot of the healing happens just between the patient and practitioner relationship. So if you're not vibing with the person you're with, you're not getting the benefit of a massive component of healing that can occur just from being in that patient practitioner relationship. So we really hope that you guys find the right person. Thank you so much to Jimmy for being our third babe. It's such an honor to have you. It's such a pleasure to learn from you. And we hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, that's great. The Boston babe.
Yes, the Boston babe. And give us the name of your business one more time so that folks can look it up.
Sure. New England Wellness Solutions.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Thank
I
you,
hope to
Jimmy.
talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay.
Stay healthy. Have fun, y'all. And
be happy.
Yeah. See you soon.